So, good evening, everybody. It's 8
Sure.
o'clock, and welcome to today's episode of Marvelous Medicine. The title given to today's session is Against All Odds, Secrets of Six Successful Women. This started because recently, when we had the 200th episode of Marvelous Medicine in person, Dr. Sri Priya was one of the participants, and we had a set of panel discussions, one of which was about contemporary, about modern surgery, and several things were discussed, and one of them was about the rising number of women in taking up surgical specialties, especially in India. So that spun off this topic, and Sri Priya is a radiologist, and I am an anesthesiologist. But both of us thought that we should do a session on women in medicine. Marvelous Medicine. We have already done a session on gender bias and sexual harassment and all, but we thought we have to look at the whole thing in a different way as to how women who have actually been successful, how have they coped with all their challenges. So Sri Priya will be the moderator for the session. She's a senior consultant radiologist at Gleneagles Apollo, Chennai. Sri Priya did her MBBS from JIPMER Pondicherry, DMRD from Madras Medical College, and FRCR from the Royal College of Radiologists, UK. Her areas of interest are hepatobiliary, pancreatic, and GI radiology. And her passion is imaging in liver transplantation and liver tumors. She's also interested in pediatric radiology. So without getting between you and these successful women, over to you, Sri Priya.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you hear me? Is that okay?
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Wonderful. First of all, thanks to Dr. Vidya, Dr. Patta for giving us an opportunity on this esteemed platform today. Thank you, my dear panelists, for joining us today. A brief introduction to our talk. So medicine is a challenging career. We know that for both men and women. Right from when we try to get into this specialty through our undergraduate, our postgraduate training, and to trying to establish a career for ourselves. Added to this is the assumed responsibility for women of managing their households, raising a family. And this comes right at that point in time when they are also focused on their training. So we need to make those decisions. Do we pursue our career? Do we fulfill our responsibilities at the home front? So today we are going to talk to these 5 empowered women on the panel, and we will try to see how they overcome their challenges, what solutions they have to offer as they reflect on their respective journeys. So welcome one and all to this discussion. I hope we can also guide further younger generation of women who aspire to take up this field as their chosen career path. And here's hoping for an interesting and interactive discussion. So can I get started, ma'am, with the panel?
Absolutely, you're the boss.
Thank you. We are all. So first, let me introduce our youngest, the one who's the youngest in our spectrum of panelists is Dr. Gayatri Balachandran. Because she's still in her training. She's also mother to 2 little girls at home. And Dr. Gayatri did her MBBS at CMC Vellore, her MS in General Surgery from CMC Vellore, her DNB in Surgical Gastroenterology from Sakra, Bangalore. Currently, she is pursuing a 2-year fellowship training in transplant surgery at Gleneagles Hospital in Chennai. I'm always in awe of Gayatri because whenever there is a CT happening, anything, Gayatri is there up front first. She is doing as much as the guys do. There is, and I always wonder how, I used to wonder how Gomati did it when she was with us before, and I wonder how Gayatri does it. Because I only see her at work, but there is also a home behind her. So my first question to you, Gayatri, what challenges do you face while you are still training and you are trying to be a mom to 2 kids? How are you dealing with these challenges? Yeah, let's get started.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Sri Priya. Just for a little background, I joined Liver Transplant Fellowship last year after my super specialty degree in surgical gastro. So it's been a long journey. Dr. Vidya mentioned that this is a panel of successful women. I'm still on the road to success. So at each step, there have been difficulties, right from the decision to pursue higher training to the timing of family. I think if you see now, most courses, more than 50% of women in candidates in MS surgery are women. So I know this is about women in medicine, but I think I can bring some perspective from the surgical side. Somehow, the journey from MS to super specialty, a lot of women don't take that next step. And I think one of the biggest challenges for any woman, not just in surgery, but who wants to advance her career and family on parallel, is I think it was something that I found difficult to accept the need to slow down. You need to make some compromise if you want to, have it both. So a mistake that I made, and I still make sometimes, is you tend to compare your career trajectory to your male peers who graduated with you, and it might not be the same level because obviously they don't have to go through the plateaus or sometimes dips that come along with maternity and childcare. So even if it's like postponing super specialty training for a few years when your child is young, or turning down a high profile job in a high volume center for a slightly low key job that suits the family situation, or even taking a year or two off. So these are compromises. I don't like the word compromise, but there are some trade-offs that I think you have to make if you want it both. That's one thing that I found it difficult to accept, and sometimes it hurts a little bit when you think about it. But I think that is part of the deal. I'm sure there are similar plateaus in men's career path as well for varying other reasons. But I think if you want to have that balance, you have to accept that little bit. Otherwise, you might not be able to do justice to both fields. That's one difficult lesson that I learned. Then next thing was coming to the decision to pursue super specialty. There were some skeptics who said the usual stuff. Oh, GI surgery is tough for women. Transplant for women, very difficult. Are you sure you know what you're getting into? It's not 9 to 5. I'm sure a number of women in this group and among the audience have heard various versions of this kind of friendly advice. So it's not easy to hear. It wasn't easy to hear, but I stuck with it. I think that's where being clear about your passion is important. If you are clear about your goals and you're passionate enough to take it forward, you'll find ways to overcome. So that mental clarity is very important, I think. So that was another decision, whether to go forward or not. People telling you, there were naysayers who saying it'd be very difficult, but that's where that clarity is saying, this is what I like and what I want, and I can see myself doing. That really helped. Then, as Jayapriya said, it is a challenge even during surgical gastro and now during LT fellowship. Balancing both is extremely difficult. Invariably, the pendulum kind of swings towards the work front, which on more often than not. I know that's not always the way I'd like to be, but sometimes we are geared to put patients first. So that is a challenge because, no matter how forward thinking I consider myself, I still want to do the mom stuff. I want to do all that as well. So that is it is difficult to take that long. Specifically about transplant surgery, the physical strain, long hours, I was prepared for. I mean, I knew that, but the unpredictability is a bit challenging. That's what I'm finding a bit difficult now. Sudden re-exploration for portal vein thrombosis, or a brain dead donor declared in the neighboring district. You have to go spend a few days. So that throws my schedule into a whirl, and I thrive on schedules, meal plan, school schedules, extracurriculars. I plan the whole, month in advance. So that really puts a lot of, it really jams up my gears a bit. So those are the things that I struggle, and my family also struggle with this new element of complexity. At this point, I just want to say, I don't think challenges for women in surgical specialties should just be related to maternity and childcare. I think there are a lot of women who choose to remain unmarried who also face a lot of challenges. And, this is just my perspective, but, starting from bias to stereotypical attitudes about, personality, to being excluded from male social circles. These are all problems that I know friends of mine have faced and are facing. Someone once told me she feels she has to pay a motherhood penalty the possibility that she may get married and have children, she feels sometimes, leads to opportunities being withheld. So these are also challenges I hope we just bring up in the course of this discussion as well. So it's not just related to childcare and maternity related. This is also important elements as well. So now coming to, so I think this, some things that I feel could have made it easier is if there were more role models. There are very few women in transplant, as Dr. Jayapriya said, and one of them is in this panel, and she's been a huge source of inspiration. I think if you see people doing it, you know it can be done. So that was one thing. If that was a difficult. If there were more women doing it, then you feel you can do it. So maybe that's something that is there. So these are the challenges I think that I faced during and am facing now during the period. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Gayatri. This was one of the reasons, Dr. Vidya, that I wanted to do this because, and especially have so many of these women just to showcase to the rest, because hopefully this talk will be seen by more people. It will be shared and that they can see that if they have done it. And I am only wife of a transplant surgeon, but I have seen how difficult it is. And then to see so many ladies do it, I am completely in all respect for you. It takes a toll on your body, mind, everything. Like you say, the disrupted sleep schedules, a call for retrieval. It's wonderful that you are there saying that you can do it, and I'm sure you will inspire. You, Gayatri, will be the next Gomati. Though I shouldn't say that you are the next Gayatri, like it says in the pencil ad, I think. What would be your advice to young women who are thinking of taking up surgery as a career?
I think it will be. I think first you have to choose the subject for the subject's sake. I mean, if you surgery, okay. If you want to do plastic surgery, it should be because you want to do plastic surgery, not because plastic is a relatively easier field. I mean, that's secondary. If you choose GI surgery, if you love GI surgery and you see yourself doing it for the next 30 years, because there will be challenges in every field. But like I said, I think the passion that drives you to continue is what will keep you forward and help you overcome those challenges. So I think that should be very clear. I think those who want to take that personal decision of pursuing a family, I think the most important thing is to choose your partner wisely. So Dr. Jayapriya mentioned, how I'm doing it all. I'm doing it because I have an incredible support system. So my partner, he's my, pillar of strength. He shares in a lot of the parental responsibilities, many solo attendances at PTM meetings. He's the only dad among a sea of moms at dance recitals. So, there's a lot of give and take, but if not for that kind of equation at home, I wouldn't have got this far. So that is very important. And you need to have a good support system. So I had the luxury, I would say, in this day and age of having, my mother-in-law stay with me. So a grandparent at home is a boon. My parents were always there to help. So having a support system, I have hired help for household, I think, they say it takes a village. I think for a surgeon mom, it takes a city. It takes a huge amount of support to make take it across. And for me, I was guilty of, there's something called a superwoman syndrome, the thing that, I can do it all. I have to do it all. I can do everything by myself because I'm awesome. I think that works in the short term, but in the long run, it's just self-destructive. I learned that the very hard way. I think there are a few things that you alone can do. For everything else, it's okay to take help. You need to take help. You can't do this alone. So it takes a city, but it can be done. So have your coping mechanisms in order, your support systems. Give yourself a break. There are some, you might not be able to make it to every play. You might not be able to, be there all the time, but quality over quantity of time spent. Those are things that, I keep telling myself, and don't let yourself fall into that guilt trap. So it can be done, but you need a lot of support. I think that's crucial. Then I think it's important to be the best version of you. So invest time in yourself. Exercise. I try to exercise. I try to eat healthy. Sleep, I still have not achieved with 2 young kids. Uninterrupted sleep is a luxury I haven't reached yet. But spend some time on self-indulgences. A good book, a Netflix binge, a pedicure once in a while. Those kind of self-care things are important, and those are things that we tend to prioritize last. Self-care, I think that's important. And small things, being able to drive by myself in the middle of the night for a case, not having to rely on other people, um, instant grocery delivery to avert domestic crises or a forgotten birthday gift. These are all things that you don't even think about, but that's made my life infinitely easier to manage all these things. Having supportive neighbors or extended family in case of some issue, and of course a good friend to call and vent to when you need to crib. So these are all small things that I have really found and continue to find incredibly useful. So if you want to pursue surgery and super specialty and have this at the same time, I think these are the bases you need to cover. And one thing that I find is women tend to be a bit self-depreciating. And this is not just in medicine. Generally, you are not that confident in your own insights and you tend to play your own successes down. I think we should take a feather from the men's cap and, blow our own trumpets and be our own best advocates, be visible, make allies, find mentors. Those are all ways I think you can help advance your career as well. So, those are the lessons that I have learned, and I think it's worth investing in. And like I said in the beginning, small delays or an extra time here, some time off here, in the long run, I think all those I read somewhere they're called investment intervals. You're investing in something else, the health of your family or your own mental peace. But in the long run, nothing is a waste of time. Don't think of it as I wasted a year or lost a year. It's not a loss. So I think these are some, lessons and coping mechanisms that I've developed to make it thus far. And I hope to, complete the journey to success soon. Yeah.
I'm sure you will. In fact, it was wonderful listening to you. I think these are life lessons for all working women. Women itself need to hear all of this that you've just said. And I think you're doing it day in and day out. So we can only learn from you. And I'm glad to have chosen you as our first speaker. I'll move on to our next speaker, Dr. Jayapriya Ramas. She's a general surgeon practicing in Chennai. She did her MBBS from SRMC, Chennai, her DNB in general surgery from Apollo Hospitals, Chennai. She has trained in laparoscopic surgery, GI surgery with Dr. Patta. So maybe we'll say she's a little bit like Gayatri, but we're going to see her different in other ways, I think. So my question to you, Jayapriya, first would be, Gayatri told us, but will you tell us what support did you get from your family and your partner that helped you pursue your career?
So, see, to begin with, I think most of us here, women who are doctors and specialists, we had very progressive parents who pushed us and said, do academically well and get out of the house and you can do this. They didn't they didn't have much biases. I had progressive parents and I said I wanted to do surgery. There was no second question. If you like it, you go ahead and do it. That's all. There were people who said, why doesn't your daughter do gynae? Why doesn't she do pediatrics and things? So basically, parents were very, very supportive. So that said, and I'm born to a working woman and this superwoman who used to cook and clean, take care of husband, children, and had a career. So very, very difficult to live up to that. And in an era, we didn't have mixie, grinder, washing machine. So very, very difficult. So to begin with, it was wonderful. And in the surgical training and much afterwards, until maternity came, I had great mentors. One of them is, of course, Dr. Patta. The longest I worked with Dr. Radhakrishna. And again, there was not no discrimination based on gender. So, I mean, that was very, very, very supportive in the workplace. Then I started having struggles after the baby was born because I didn't have an established support system. I didn't know about it. See, most of us first-time mothers, where we don't get training, nobody tells us or grooms us to face maternity. You face it for the first time and you're like, it is not cute. It is not chubby babies and photo shoots. No, it is not that. It is sleepless nights. And these night duties, you don't get post-duty off. Endless, like what Dr. Gayatri says. My husband once asked me one morning, when my son was 2 years, he said, "Nalla thunginiya? Did you sleep well?" I said, "How dare you ask me that question? I don't know when I last slept well." So we're not prepared. At least I was not prepared for it. So that was difficult. And so I took a maternity 6 months leave, 7 months, in fact. And after that, getting back to work, I didn't know what to do. And I was not ready to put my child in daycare. Like what Gayatri said, her pendulum swings towards work. My pendulum was swinging towards a child. And parallelly, I developed other interests because once I was pregnant with the child, I started reading about, I did a course on lactational management, started reading about child psychology. And Dr. Neeraja is here, she will know how important the first 1,000 days of a child's life is, the neuronal development, psychology, the emotional well-being. So I have done a lot of reading on this out of the thing. And I'm 200% convinced that, I need to be available for the child. And somebody can replace you at work, but at home. The first child, I continued 1 month break, and my mother was there to take care of the baby. To work, I'm fully present in the workplace, and I'm at home, I'm fully present with my child. So until I had 3 years support system that worked, but there were a lot of unexpected things, like in transplant, suddenly child falls sick. Okay, so you'll call, say, "Sir, I won't be able to come, my child is sick." Then day 2, we don't know when the fever is going to stop. And once child is sick, the child clings to the mother, doesn't want to go to the father or the grandma and things like that. And I would never want to leave the baby and go. So I used to take leaves. So this kind of affected my reputation at workplace. I was supported because leave was granted, but Jaypriya's lost focus. She's not like before. Her priorities have changed and things like that. And I was okay with that because it didn't matter to me because I'm the mother. There's nobody to replace me. And so those challenges were a lot. And my first child used to fall sick very often. Then after, I think till she was 5-6 years old, I continued working full time. And I suffered certain things because I was working, coming back home, working, home. So I didn't do any exercise. I didn't take care of my health. I was rushed all the time. I was rushed. Wake up, rush, get ready, get the child ready, put her in school, go for work, come back, get ready for the next day, plan the menu for the next day, buy groceries. So I was like a machine. And slowly and steadily, it has affected my health. So, and I didn't know about this. I didn't even have time to introspect of what is going wrong with me. So over a period of time, I realized that, I'm being rushed all the time. So I didn't want to be there. And every third day I used to be on call, have to go and operate. Or many times, you don't make a decision on surgery on the phone. You have to go and see the CT yourself, go see the patient yourself. So, and I wanted sleep. I wanted rest. And certain long surgeries, I used to develop severe backache. So then it took a lot of time for me to decide that I'm going to quit working full time. It took almost 2 years from the day I've decided to, I need some time for myself. More than the child, I thought I need some time for myself. So then it was a very, very difficult decision. And once I decided, and it was the time the COVID came, and I quit to be able to take care of my child. So then I spent a few months at home, and then I made a decision that I'll start working part-time. So I was freelancing for a while, and then finally decided, then again some job offers come, you want to get back to, but nobody wants to take you as a part-time consultant. Nobody wants to pay you, basically. If you're a full-time, they're willing to pay you because you're going to take night calls and other things. Nobody wants to pay you for a part-time. So then I decided, okay, let me see, now suddenly I've discovered that, there's plenty of time. It's my time. I don't have to report to a boss. I don't have to swipe in, swipe out. I don't have to ask permission to take care of my child. And suddenly this newfound freedom, I realized money is less, to be honest. I don't do much work. I do some work. So it keeps me going. And I also realized my second child is 3.5 now. I'm waiting for him to reach 5, 6. Until 5, Neeraja will agree with me. Until 5, that nurturing, that care is so important for a child. I want to put certain things in context here. If you look at the statistics, alarming. The median age for mental health disorders is 14 years. I was shocked to see this. And my child is 10, my elder one. So, and who takes her to the emotion? Now she doesn't need to be breastfed, doesn't need to be fed, doesn't need to be bathed, doesn't need to be picked up from school. She comes on her own in the van, but she wants an adult to be emotionally available, the parent, the father or the mother, to be emotionally available, to have a conversation. And, teenagers go through a lot of emotional difficulties. And if I'm not available now to encourage a talk or to have a conversation, to do the daily things, suddenly at 15 years when she's facing some issue, I won't be able to even have a connection. See, that connection will be lost. So I personally believe that, and it's like compound interest. No, she was saying you have to invest. It's like compound interest. You invest time every day, day after day, day after day, gaining that connection with the child. So at a point where the child needs your support, it'll get back to you, the child will get back to you. Because I'm saying this out of personal experience, because I had a very busy working mother. No regrets. She's done a wonderful job. But the connection was not there. And when I had problems as an adult, as an adolescent, I didn't have anybody to go back to. You see, both my parents were, my father was a police officer, so that trusted adult with whom you can have a conversation. So the emotional well-being of the child gets affected. Again, I've done a lot of research and reading on child psychology. So now I'm 200% convinced. I don't know if I'm right, but personally, this is how it works for me. So now I've decided that, I'm going to continue working maybe 4-5 hours a day till my younger one maybe turns 5 or 6. And then see, we can always be full-time later. Again, see, if you look at full-time school, it is 8 a.m. to 2:33 p.m. It's 7 hours. 3 p.m. the child comes home. So I can go to a daycare. There can be a nanny at home. The child needs a mother or a grandmother. So in my situation, the grandmother is not always available. So again, so now I've decided to be. So now what I do? Nothing. I'm just available at 3 p.m. at home. 5 p.m. again, I leave to my clinic. That's a different issue, but I'm available. I want to know what happens. I want to look at the child's face. So my pendulum is more towards the child, but I'm 200% convinced. So a support system, husband is working full time. Participating in household chores, maybe 10-20%. 80% is my responsibility. I've outsourced cooking to a cook, but again, the menu planning, the groceries, what to do with leftovers, everything is under me. Everything else I take care. So in terms of support from the spouse, I'm not cribbing, but majority of Indian men are like that. Okay, some very few privileged, lucky women, some good karma they get. So then again, I have the responsibility of raising. My son is 3.5. He's going to become an adult. I want to raise him as an empowered man who would be able to take care of his sister, would be able to take care of his spouse, his girlfriend, whatever that is, so that, she doesn't have to undergo what I'm doing. So this is my take on it. So how much support? Yeah, this is what the support I have. But the privilege I have is financially, I don't need to go for a 9-to-5 job to be able to sustain or run a family. I'm good. Financially, I'm okay. But personally, I still consider work as my me time. I don't consider work as stress now. Those 3-4 hours I do my job, I'm super duper happy. Husband understands that. He says, you seem to be happy when you're working. When the days you're operating, you seem to be happy. But yeah, this is the kind of compromise Gayatri said, no, I've done, but this works for me.
Wonderful, JP. Basically, Gayatri had her viewpoint, you have yours. You have wonderfully articulated, and many of us, I think, can resonate with so many of those points that you have raised. Yeah, my mother used to say, my mother was also working woman. She was a doctor, and she would tell me, Priya, when I go and sit in that office, that's when I get. And she used to be very rushed, like you in the mornings. Those days, she was working when 1975, I'm saying. I mean, I don't think there were any flexible or part-time or anything. We had somebody to look after us. But yeah, she had to be in at 8. But then she would say, that is the time when I actually get to sit, because she's done with all the household chores, and then she goes there. But I'm sure things are improving. You said about raising your son and teaching him the values. So I'm sure we are going to look at more solutions as to how the next generation wouldn't find it this difficult. Shall I move on to my next speaker now? I've got more questions for you, but I think I'd like to introduce all the speakers once. So next is Dr. Tilaka Muttaya. So she did her MBBS from Madras Medical College and her MD in anesthesiology from AIIMS, Delhi. She is a clinical lead at Apollo Simulation Center and is a consultant anesthesiologist at the Apollo Hospitals. So Dr. Tilaka, in all our interactions before, in the meet that I had before and in our sessions, the practice sessions we had before, she had always talked, even when I had spoken to her on the phone a couple of times, she said, I have a very different experience. Mine has been a very positive experience. And should I even be on this panel? And I said, yes, we have to hear every viewpoint. And so, Dr. Tilaka, can you elaborate on this support that you have received from men and women growing up, your experiences?
So thank you, Dr. Sri Priya. And first of all, I'm so overwhelmed to be in the midst of such amazing people. And I'm going to share perspectives from my experience. So it's completely what I have faced. So with a lot of humility, I'm going to say this. But I have been extraordinarily fortunate from a very young age to be surrounded by people, both men and women, who have not just supported me, but have uplifted me, celebrated me, and who've been everything to me and who have made me become what I am today. Like today, I can right now see my daughter coming in, and my brother-in-law and my father are the people who are actually taking care of her along with my mother. So I'm able to do everything I am doing because of these amazing men and women, everybody who have surrounded me right from my youngest age, both in my personal life as well as in my professional life, my friends, my colleagues. So again, touching wood and saying this with a lot of humility, I am absolutely able to empathize with the fact that many women are not having the same fortune that I am having. But somehow God has been very kind to me, and so far I've been having absolutely amazing people. And I truly want to mention about the female friends that I have, who have been like amazing pillars whenever I have faced any kind of problem. I'm sure each and every one of us will be having something or the other, will be facing something or the other. And usually during all of our college days, we will be having amazing group of friends. So that is a given for everybody. But once we finish college, life happens, career happens, everything happens. And in the process of getting all these things right, the sacrifices that we make, we have to make some choice. And usually friendship is the place where we'll be like, okay, I can meet this friend later on, I can talk to them later, I can be with them later. So we kind of then lose touch, and then after 10-20 years, suddenly when we are in a space where I truly have to go and speak to somebody, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, then we don't have anybody. And that is exactly the time when you can just go to another friend who's a female, who's a woman, and who can understand whatever you are facing, whatever you're feeling so well. You just have to go sit with them, and they'll hug you, and they'll be like, oh, it's okay, everything is okay, you're awesome. Those people can't understand, so it's totally okay. So that just one conversation with them will set everything right. So just like any other relationship, friendship is also something that needs to be nurtured. We need to invest, we need to take care of that friendship. And however unconditional that friendship might be, we need to value that friendship. And that is something that I feel in between, I have had times when I was not a great friend, but all my friends forever have been absolutely great and very kind to me. So I am what I am today because of all the amazing people around in my life. And I think I should just thank God for all of that.
I think what's really amazing is your attitude. You have seem to have so much gratitude towards the people who have done all this for you, both men and women. And I think it's your outlook probably that contributes a lot more to, I think, the positive experience that you think you had till now. I've got some more questions, but I'll just move on to the next speaker just to introduce everybody once. Next is we have Dr. Neerja Pacha. She's a consultant pediatrician and neonatologist. She's working at Rainbow Children's Hospital in Anna Nagar, at Nido Healthcare Clinic and Indigo Women's Center. She had done her MBBS from SRMC Porur and her postgraduate training she had completed in pediatrics in the UK. So Dr. Neerja had worked in the NHS for 13 years before she decided to move back to Chennai, and this was 10 years ago. She's also done a hospital management course from IIM Bangalore. So, Neerja, coming to you, now reflecting back on your career today, because your children have grown up, how do you think you had handled the challenges? We've seen JP and Gayatri describe the challenges they are facing today or recently. So, how do you think you handled the challenges back then, and would you have done anything differently?
Thanks, first of all, to everyone for giving me this opportunity. I think that's a very good question, Priya, actually. Nothing was planned and nothing comes over very easily. I think for all of us in our career, especially in medicine, I think it's not a cakewalk, as all of us know. And as soon as we finished our undergraduation, like, I come from a well-protected nuclear family, actually. I did my undergraduation, but no one was like, in the medical field as such in the family to guide me. So I was just thrown into the sea after graduation. I don't know exactly what I wanted to do as well at the time. And then got married immediately. And then comes a person along with me who doesn't know what to do. He finished his general surgery from JIPMER. And then both of us were like, he finished his post-graduation and I finished my undergraduation. And we came in the same months and we don't know what to do as well because there was no job, no money. And we are stuck there and we are seeing at our parents' face for finances every day. So because both of us want to do something further as well. I think that was one of the reasons. Then that comes a decision, like, your partner says, no, I want to do liver transplant, and that's definitely for sure. And then you're stuck because at that point of time, there was only one MCH seat, like, in Tamil Nadu, there was only an MMC. And then he was like, there's very less scope. So, but ultimately, I wanted to do liver transplant surgery. I was very, very ambitious right from start, actually, hardworking in my class. And I wanted to do pediatrics right from the start, actually. But then I was thinking, like, how can we balance each other? Like, now I don't want to go into payment seat. And doing from Ramchandra, it was always like, people, many of my relatives also, oh, you've come from a college where you had paid. But then no one realizes, like, you could always miss the seat, like, even with a few marks you might miss and you might end up paying, or circumstances just change and you end up paying for a seat. But then it was like, difficult because I did not want to do any more payment seats. That was a bit of like, fear in my heart. I don't want to do any more payment seats, but I want to study as well. And then we came to a decision to go to UK and then pursue both our careers. But then both of us were very naive, not like, not guided by anyone. And we ended up in a new place, a new environment, and totally like, we not foresee what was going to come, like with no family, with no support system. And then both of us want to do a high-end careers, actually. And both of us were equally ambitious. I think that was the biggest problem, actually, because we never sat down together and we never discussed, like, how we are going to work this together. We were all in our both ways, we were working hard and we were like, we have to reach our goals rather than can we do this together? Will it work for us, actually? And in that, journey, both of us ended up finding our own paths and we landed up in two different places, actually. In the 13.5 years we were there, round about 9 to 10 years, we were in totally different places and pursuing like, our careers and wanting to do jobs that we wanted to do. Because it's quite tough and actually challenging in these fields in the UK, as you all know. And Shripriya, especially, you must be knowing, like, it's always very long hours in pediatrics and neonates in UK. And my husband as well, Rajni, he was always stuck in the hospital with the retrievals, and there were a lot of retrievals for them. So I wouldn't see him, like, for 2 to 3 weeks at a stretch. And as we had a little one when we were going, as soon as we went to UK, it was a biggest struggle actually. I was almost like a single parent, taking care of a child and doing my career. But then I was young, I was energetic. Looking back, I always think, like, how did I ever do it like this now? But I felt at that time, like, I was more like an organizer. At some points, this JP raised, every day I would jolt down, like, I had a very big organizer with me in my bag always. Like, I used to write down the timings, what time I have to do this, what time I have to pick up. And like, planning was a big thing. And I was always like, of a mental state where I was always prepared for the unexpected, actually. Even something would if anyone would throw me a task at that time, I was always like, ready to do it. And I was there, like, accepting challenges, like, no, this is such a silly thing or small thing, I can do it. I think that kind of a mental strength, probably it's more from the genetic makeup from my dad. I guess he's a type A personality. I would take up challenges very easily. And also, like, I used to quite quickly prioritize what I wanted. Like in terms of, like, okay, I have to, by this time, I have to finish my part 1. The first 4 months, as soon as I finished my graduation, in 4 months' time, I finished my MRCP part 1. And then another, like, year and a half passed, I finished my part 2 without any, like, I would say I would not like getting a full pediatric training at that time, because first 6 months I ended up doing adult medicine because I did not get a pediatric post. And following that, like, when I got the pediatric, like, a job, then I started, because in UK, it's more training and studying together. You can never do only studying. It's always together. And your patient responsibility was thrown quite earlier in your career itself, right from the first year. So you were responsible for your patients. And it's not only the consultants, it is your job. And if you're doing anything wrong, it goes onto your head, and that's always there. So I think there were many, many challenges in terms of, it is always for women about childcare. I also felt like there was a biggest challenge was childcare, because there was no one for me. There was no family, or initially there were no friends as well. But I think most of us in this field will face this problem. But then, slowly I found my way, and, finding people, the childminders, everything. And then I always had a good circle of friends. I think that helped a lot, actually. Whichever place because in UK, you have to move every 6 months to a different place. And every 6 months, you have to look at, oh God, whom I'm going to find next, actually. But wherever I went, I always found a circle of friends, and who can, pick or drop, if something is late. And I have to say, for a couple of years, there was a situation where, I made friends with a parent who had twins in the ward, actually, one Kashmiri family. And they ended up looking after my daughter for a long time, because sometimes, I used to run very, very late, 1:30 in the night. And they used to keep her after the childminder leaves them. They used to keep until then. I used to go and pick up. So they were like these great personalities whom you meet along, and you welcome them warmly, because you don't know them too. But then you take you take a bet on them. You form friends. You just find your frequency of people that from everyone was a big thing, actually. That helped a lot. And coping strategies, there were breakdowns quite a lot of times, actually, especially, when you're stretched out for the whole month, you've been working day and night, and with a little one with you, but you have to do long days and nights at a stretch. There's always a time when you break down. I always felt at the end of the month, I used to break down and say, I'm really tired. And then, there used to be bigger arguments and all. Looking back at all of that, it was a stage. And I think that part of life, I feel every other woman, not only in medicine, now I'm seeing, I see young parents everywhere coming to my clinic. All of them go through the same phase in that age, when you're having a young family, when you're having your career, and you have to reach a goal. That point, I think it's a big stretch, and all of us are like, shaken at that point. And then once you cross that stage, like, I think that's where you'll feel successful. I always felt, I don't know, sometimes like, I sit back and think, what is success for all of us actually? Whether it is financial stability, whether it's happiness or accomplishment of your goals, or the satisfaction from the job that you're getting. But probably it's a mix of everything. Okay, you get happiness, but then if you don't get financial stability and you're not able to fulfill the basic necessities for your family, it is still not a pure success. In the same way, if you get financial stability, but you're not at peace and you're not happy, that's also not success. Probably a balance of everything, and especially peace and happiness at the top of the list would bring you to success. So probably still I feel like, oh, there's a long way to success. What I mean is whether I've reached my inner happiness and peace. So there's little more time to that. And working hard is still going on. And I love that probably. I've tried many times being quiet for a couple of months, but then I probably am a personality where I can't be quiet. And I just feel like, I'll always say I want a holiday. I tried that during my maternity leave, for a couple of months. And then I was like, oh my God, I cannot do this. And I had to go back quickly, actually. In fact, I went early back to work. And in the same way, couple of times I was thinking I was unwell with a lot of stress, actually. I had developed a lot of skin problems and all. But then I tried, okay, let me take a break. I've tried during that time also. And I said, no, that never happened, actually. And I couldn't do it. So I think my working thing, probably for me, happiness is working. And if I get a break, that confuses me, actually. That confuses me even more. So I'm happy with this. Looking back, what I could do different is probably even now I feel like, none of us are there are a lot of mix of people, actually. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. There was a brief pause, but it's okay now. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I feel is we are thrown into a pool actually suddenly, and you're allowed to swim by yourself. You're not taught swimming, but you're just swimming all alone suddenly. But then you come up with the problem is at the earlier stage in medical career, I always felt there's no grounding at all by your professors or by your colleagues saying this is what you're going to look at. No one told us anything at that point, actually. Even now in our curriculum, there's nothing that says how are you going to manage difficult situations? How are you going to deal with your career goals? What are your passion? There's no one talking with us especially in the final year or fourth year. There's no one really guides you about all of these things. What are the difficulties? Any one of you gone through with your colleagues or with your seniors? Anyone have sat down with you and told these are the things we faced? Probably you'll be expecting this in the future. No one told us, so we just learn through the walk, actually. And every day when something comes as an obstacle, you learn through that. So I think probably educating our children or educating our colleagues or teaching our juniors about what they're going to face in future, and them planning accordingly. Sometimes little planning. I can't say we can plan everything ahead, because that even gets into trouble. So at least little few points here and there from your colleagues or seniors is always helpful, for the juniors to come up in their lives and to make their decisions easier. And they should not be feeling they're the only ones going through this. I think now it is more and more visible, because we are able to go through this Zoom meetings and all, and people are talking. I think they're finding their ways now much easier compared to our generation, probably. And as Gayatri said, developing good self-care and good habits. Good habits, it doesn't mean you sit at home and do puja or something. It's more finding, I think Gomati is inspirational, isn't it? Every time when we went to IIM Bangalore coaching, she used to run early in the morning, however busy she was. In the night, she used to take all the calls, hospital calls, and then early morning, she used to run, actually. And I was like, Gomati, really, I'm really tired, actually. For me, IIM Bangalore was just to sleep in the morning, away from the children, all quietness. And I used to love that, and I used to sleep, and she'd be like, come on, we'll go for a walk, actually. So I think you find your own way of taking care of yourself, whichever is good for you. It's not necessary that you have to strain yourself again, but probably finding your own way is a good thing, actually. So that's me. Probably gone longer. I'll give opportunity to Gomati now.
There's
Thank
no
you.
time. So thank you for that, very heartfelt. You've been very frank in your experiences, and I can understand in the UK it's very difficult for husband and wife to get job in the same place. And then if you both want jobs, we are ambitious and you want to have it all. We have children, we have to raise them. So, but you've done it and you've got here. So you've got through those challenges, and that itself is an inspiration for others.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if we are less, harder on ourselves, and you've told so many things that we could have done differently. So now finally coming to Dr. Gomati, I still have Dr. Patta. So Dr. Gomati Narasimhan is a consultant liver, and for those, I don't know if there is anybody like that, but for those who still don't know her, she's a consultant liver and renal transplant surgeon at the Dr. Ella Institute. She also heads the medical advisory board that oversees the medical services. She did her MBBS from Kilpauk, am I right, Gomati?
Yeah.
And her general surgery from Madras Medical College, her transplant training from Dallas in the US. She's also done healthcare management from IIM Bangalore. Were you and Nirja batchmates then?
Yes. Oh yeah, roommates.
Small world. So Dr. Gomati has been recognized on so many national and international platforms for her role as a multi-organ transplant surgeon. She was recently conferred the Women Leader in Transplantation Award by the Transplantation Society. This is for pioneering work in transplantation. She is a marathoner. So I can't think of a better icon. Like I said, when we came back to UK in 2012, and Dr. Gomati was there with my husband and so many other male colleagues, and she was the only lady transplant surgeon there. I used to be in real awe of her. I mean, how do you do it? But we've seen Gayatri and the others say how they do it. So I don't want to bore Gomati with that question. Somebody else can ask that if they want. But I want to ask Gomati, because I think she keeps focusing on this. What do you see as a scenario? Because she says many of the problems that we are discussing now are not even going to be problems for the upcoming generation of doctors. I see my daughter as well, who wants to have a career in surgery, and her outlook is completely different. So I probably get a bit of what Gomati says, but I want to hear from her. What do you think is going to be for the next generation of women doctors?
Thanks, Priya. This is wonderful, actually, listening to all of you. And when I look at the people who have joined in, I think each one of them, the names I recognize, have all been stalwarts in what they've done. And I mean, being a doctor itself kind of puts you into a slot where you have to do a lot more compared to the rest of the women. So we are already in a slightly different situation. And then from there on, moving towards specialty, super specialty. So we are talking about the few who really strive, be it in medicine or any other field, to get to that point. So it is a tough road. It's not easy, but at the end of the day, I always feel we chose it, so we will own it. Like Gayatri said, I was this person who needed to know what I'm going to do next hour and next day. It's always like that. But then, into transplant, it's always uncertainty. And then you start sort of enjoying it, because I chose to be in transplant. So if somebody has a 5-day week and I have a 7-day week, so be it, because that's my choice. I know it's not easy all the time to say that, but if you kind of get back to that thought process, life becomes easier for you. Now, coming to what the next generation, I see, not just in our field, in all fields, the current generation who are probably, who are getting into their first jobs are very different in terms of their expectation from life itself. They are not so obsessed with, doing next, and, not missing a year in between. They want to take time, enjoy their passion. So we need to respect that. If we don't respect that, we lose out on the cream of the society. I think as a medical community, we need to wake up to this fact. I know of architects and, people in the design field and stuff, where they've just revised their way of functioning, their time schedules, everything, because you can't expect a youngster to come at 8:30 in the morning well-dressed. That's not the way they function. They function differently. but they are so brilliant. We all know that they have so much of, sharpness. So we have to start adapting, even in the medical field. So the problems we are talking about childcare, maybe they'll sort it out much, much, much more differently. I think, the expectations from women, from their partners now are very different, and they're able to spell it out so much more clearly than what any of us, we want to go back and say there could be times when I could have said this, but I think they are much more upfront. So as a field, we need to adapt to give them stuff like flexibility in hours, work hours. I mean, we discussed this some time ago. Men, women, doesn't matter. They all need flexibility. You can't expect them to work on a fixed schedule. So it should be flexibility in training, flexibility at work. I read something about job share, which is a fantastic thing, not part-time jobs, because part-time jobs are looked at as inferior to a full-time job. Whereas job share is a full-time job where two people
The audio is a
can
little bit breaking up.
work
Gomati.
together, decide, okay, so the next 3 months I would do probably, sorry?
No, it's fine. Just there was a little bit break in the audio, but yeah, we'll just continue. Yeah.
So it's like, you can choose, it can be a male colleague, female colleague, doesn't matter. Somewhere where you can have a work share arrangement, job share, where let's say 3 months that the other person would do 70%, you do 30%. And then the next 3 months you do 70%. So the job description is the same, a full-time job. And nobody feels that, they're doing you a favor by giving you a part-time job. But it's between you and your colleague to kind of come up with this. And this, I believe, has worked out very well in other specialties, like lawyers and, architects. So we need to start first, I think, stop thinking or implicit bias that medicine is more difficult for women. No, it is not. In fact, women have been doing obstetrics for so long. I mean, all of us would definitely feel that obstetrics is the most demanding in terms of uncertain timings. But always women are associated with obstetrics. And how come surgery is more difficult than obstetrics? I don't think it is. But we accept women to be obstetricians. Men, husbands accept their spouses to be obstetricians. The in-laws are happy, but when it comes to women as a surgeon or some other specialties, like, oh, that's going to be difficult. How is it more difficult? I don't think it's more difficult. So there is an implicit bias which we need to get out of, stereotyping which we need to get out of, and that we need to do among ourselves. And I read something about, pick out unique pathways or personalities and normalize it. Now, if Jayapriya chose to do her job 4 hours a day, that's quite a difference from what the rest of us believe as a successful, doctor or a woman. But that's fantastic because she's found that balance. So make that unique path, normalize it. So people don't say, oh, she's decided to do only 3 hours. No, that's fine. That's a choice you make. So we need to really start thinking out of the box and among ourselves get rid of implicit bias. I think that's something which will be welcoming for the next generation to come into our fields.
So it's all in the mindset. Thank you, Gomati, for reiterating that. And I can't leave you without asking, how important do you think is fitness for women, especially doctors? And are we doing enough to take care of ourselves?
No, it's important for everybody, women, men, doctors, any profession. I think it gives you a lot of confidence, and that, at a time when you really need it, because early days priorities are different, and then you start having self-doubt when you get back to your career. And if you're weak in your body also, it kind of makes it even more difficult. So you don't get a sound mind unless you have a sound body. So it is extremely important. And I think we all have to, I don't know if you all have read the book, but there's a book called Outlive, which talks about health span rather than lifespan, and thinking about medicine as medicine 3.0, meaning stop talking about diseases, but talk about prevention. So we need to really start early. And I think as doctors, if we don't do it, we're not going to preach it well to others. So I think it's extremely important.
Thank you. Thank you, Gomti. Dr. Vidya, do I still have time for our last speaker, Dr. Patta?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, welcome, Dr. Patta, as our male panelist. Thank you for accepting. I wanted to ask you, is he here?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, we have all talked about our point of view, how it was difficult for us women to manage because our topic is women in medicine. But I wanted to ask you, how was it when you saw your wife? She is a doctor, and there are so many of my friends who wanted to know whether you will be talking about her today, and what is your viewpoints? What would you like to share with us? How she managed, what you did?
Frankly, I had no plans about talking about her since you asked me. I'm doing this. Like, if you ask me if I'm born again, whom will I get married to? I think it'll be Selvi Radhakrishna for whatever we've gone through. Now, I consider her as one of the most successful women surgeons I've ever seen in every sphere because I've worked with so many. In terms of, the specialties she's chosen, she's become one of the good ones in that, and her work ethic, her ethics in general as far as medicine is concerned, and are following scientific principles and so on. And it's sort of well balanced. Now, I should say that if you ask me how was my life and I went through, actually I don't belong to Tamil Nadu. I belong to Andhra Pradesh, and I have nobody, no single relative in Tamil Nadu. And then the thing of settling down in Chennai was never on my menu. But then at some point of time, one friend told me, if wife is happy, life is happy. And that's when I thought, okay, I should, because I'm post MCH 12 years, I was not in Chennai. If I was there in Chennai, maybe I would have been much, bigger than whatever. So then I realized that I should come back, and that made a difference. The reason is we tried to live in Hyderabad where I belong to, but she couldn't because children, no support, absolutely. And she understood she can't do anything with career. And in Chennai, our parents are there. They're still there, actually, luckily. And they're the ones who brought up the children, which took away a lot of burden from her. I was sort of not as such involved in, because I wasn't working when my children are being brought up in Chennai. That apart, I should admit that at every juncture of my career, when I moved from one place to another, it's only when she consented or when she advised, and never her advice did go wrong. So the second important thing is that, I don't say it's a sacrifice of my coming, leaving Hyderabad, my folks, my system, and coming over here. But I think it's some sort of an adjustment, which actually not many people realize that point, because I always keep telling people that first of all, you realize one thing: if wife is happy, life is happy. If your wife is from Tirchi and wants to settle down in Tirchi, you may be from Delhi or Kathmandu or wherever, but settle down in Tirchi. This is the most important thing you should do, and life will be happy. Otherwise, it will be sort of miserable. The first thing. Second thing is always listen to her. And I didn't do anything against her wishes when it came to career, and that has seen me through. Now, this morning I was going to my workplace, and the driver is telling, I left madam in the airport this morning. I didn't know that. Then where is she going? I didn't know. Then evening I came back. I asked my cook, where did madam go? He said she went to Mumbai. She'll come back at 11:30. She does her own thing. I do my own thing, and we have no hassles about it. We had a lot of ego clashes all through, which I think most successful couples have that, but then when I'm brought up in a situation where mother takes so much good care of me, and I can't expect, or I understood over a period of time that such thing cannot happen. If you have a working wife and who wants to be as good, better, I think these things have to be sort of forgotten. So in retrospect, if you ask me that whether I'm happy being what I am with my wife, but very much happy. And actually, more than anything, she's some sort of an example for me to look up to in many ways. And actually, at some point of time, she liked me because I also had similar thinking. And I think over a period of time, you influence each other so very well. And I think things get ironed out. So it's very. I mean, I consider myself very lucky to be married to one woman who's done very well in life, and I would rather you know support her in every possible way. I don't question anything, or she doesn't question me either. I think that should be sort of very mutual understanding that we don't do anything out of the way, which doesn't suit our family.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you for that very honest talk. Dr. Vidya, do we have time for more questions, or are we opening it to the audience?
Actually, we are kind of at the cusp where we should be. But if you had some points that you wanted to raise with the panelists that you haven't been able to, please go ahead. And meanwhile, I'd request. There have been a lot of positive comments appreciating whatever has been spoken. But if anyone has any particular point to make or any question to the panelists, please type it on the chat box. And so that we don't waste any time looking for the questions. So if you have typed your questions in the chat box, we'll come to you and you could even speak about that. So go ahead, Shripriya, if you have something else.
Yeah, it was just one of the points Dr. JP had said, how she defines the success, because it's something I thought we should all also hear. So Jaipriya, if you're there, can you tell us what your definition of success is? While especially doctors, when we are trying to juggle all these roles.
Definition of success keeps changing. So when I just finished PG, my definition of success was I have to operate every single day. Okay, I want to be in the hospital at 6 a.m. and keep operating, see as many patients as possible, and that's all. I want to drop dead in the night, come and sleep and get up in the morning. So that is definition of success at that point. Now, if you ask me my definition of success, what I told earlier, I have time for myself. I mean, that I feel very successful about that. I'm what I call time affluence, not I call it was coined maybe 10, 15 years ago, time affluence, to be able to do what you want to do in your own time. See, this entire thing about 9-to-5 jobs, or it all started during the Industrial Revolution of factory workers. So, and we continue to do that. So like what Dr. Gomati says, things are changing. So, and I've understood that now each of us have a particular skill. We are very good at certain things. We are not very good at certain things. And it takes some time after training and to realize that, because I used to keep asking myself, because after training, maybe 5 years after PG, after acquiring certain skills, then you start comparing yourself with your colleagues and saying, how am I better? We all keep comparing subconsciously, how am I better? Then how can I operate better? Can I do this better? So I kept asking myself, what is so special about me? Am I special at all? And then after a while, it started occurring to me that certain unique characteristics each one of us has. Something very, very unique to our DNA, the way we approach, and certain values we build over time. So I have started recognizing that I have certain special characteristics, and I can capitalize on that. There is no need to compete with anybody. If at all, I have to compete with my own self to become a better version of myself. So these special characteristics each one of us possess, it just takes time for us to understand. And there's no need to be in the rat race. There's no need to be better than anybody else in this world. You're just there for your own self. And that I have realized, and that I'm practicing independently now. Actually, I've learned this from my gynecology colleagues, because once I started doing private practice, full institutional practice, suddenly private practice, I met a lot of obstetrics and gynecologists, and I see how they practice influenced my career decisions as well. So most of them, people who are not into full-time institution, there are plenty of them. Every road, every street has 2-3 gynecologists who do private practice. How they do is they all have families. They start their practice at 11 a.m. After they're done with childcare, cooking, taking, after gymming, exercise. They go until 1, 2 p.m. Then they go back to school to pick up their children, take care of the evening, come back at 6 p.m. to their clinic, then stay for 2-3 hours. I see them glowing. They look well, they dress well, they are healthy, they are happy. And I also found that they are willing to support each other. So because the area I practice, there's some 10 gynecologists who refer patients to me, and they are not enemies. In surgical departments, somebody doesn't like somebody, and if you do more cases, I'm jealous and things like that. But here I see they're all together. So somebody goes on a vacation, somebody else covers for them. Some high-risk pregnancy, they do it together. So a lot of camaraderie. And I thought, oh, this is a beautiful way to live. There's no need to be at loggerheads. There's no need to compete and show that you're better than anybody at all. So it took a while for me to get those skills to train, because as a surgeon, you need to train more to be independent. You need to see more complications, more difficult patients. So that I had the opportunity to be with Dr. Radhakrishna. I spent a decade with him, mentored by him. So then now I've realized that, okay, that period is over. I have my own capabilities. And now I have to offer this to the society. I see many times we forget as doctors, we talk about it as career. I never want to be a doctor. My father said, you have to give back to society. You have to serve. So that's why I became a doctor. So now it's time for me to serve. So this is my offering to the society. So whatever I can contribute to, this is my offering to society, and I will do it in the best possible way. And so this is a newfound freedom. I have my own time. There are days I don't want to work. I cancel my clinic and sit at home. There are days I have full energy. I want to work the whole day. I need to take vacations. I need to travel. I need to focus on my children's interests, on the family's interests. So there's plenty of time. There's no need to take permission. They don't need to explain to anybody what you want to do. So this, this freedom, how much of a money you give me, this freedom, I think, again, is individual. For me, freedom is so, so important. So this helps me. And even as an individual, practicing clinician, you need that freedom of clinical decision making. You need to be able to say, I've said no on the morning of surgery when I think the patient did not require surgery. I have canceled cases in the 11th hour because that particular patient, there was situation is not. See, that you can't do when you are an institution, when you're a group of people, you need concurrence and things like that. So there's plenty of freedom. And this, I think every woman should have. This is a formula that I found, it's beautiful. And there are some job offers. I get tempted to go back to full-time work. I get tempted to go to when I find a good fat pay scale and more surgery. Then I know I come back and I say, no, this freedom I will lose if I am on a pay scale. So like what Dr. Gomathi said, the definition of success is changing. And I also have other passions that I want to pursue because I've been parallelly doing many, many other things, which I can't do if I'm working full time. In fact, I'm considering taking a gap year to do pursue other passions. And here again, we have children looking up to us, and they should know working mother doesn't mean she has to do a 9-to-5 job. A working mother is empowered, she's independent, she can do whatever she wants in life. If my daughter can see that, then it's a success. If my son can see this, my mother can sit at home one whole day being unproductive, typically, doing nothing, it's still success. It's still my time. So again, this is a work in progress. I'm discovering this is life. And so if you look at 6 successful women, I don't know if I even fit into any success definition, but feels good, feels so good. And
JP, if I can interject here, Dr. Sripriya, you're missing the 6th successful woman, Dr. Vidya Mohan Rao.
There are already 6 of them there. In fact, my colleague, this one, what's her name? Shakti saw, she said, Madam, the topic says 6 women, but I can see only 5. Then I said, can't you see? I wanted to say, so obviously she had counted me out, and she counted out Shripriya also because she was the moderator. So I'll keep it there, like.
Who's the sixth one? We'll keep them guessing.
So Gayatri, Dr. Punidhar has put a thing on the chat box saying something published. Is that your article?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can you give a very, very quick gist of what was on that?
So Dr. Dhar had envisaged it as a debate on whether women need special treatment, women in surgery need special treatment in order to be empowered. So I was supposed to speak, or write in favor of special treatment, and another surgeon was supposed to, counter the argument. So we both sent in our respective manuscripts. So during my course of preparation, I first of all, I took objection to the term special treatment because anyone in any male-dominated field knows that we strive to be treated equally. We want exactly the opposite. We don't want to be treated specially. We don't want to be women surgeons. We just want to be surgeons. But during my research for that, the gist of my argument was that we don't need to be treated specially, we want to be treated fairly. So in terms of capability or in terms of being suited for the job, being considered surgeons, we don't need to be treated specially. I address issues like bias, like Dr. Gomati said, how attitudes towards women being suited for surgery, how that was an outdated concept, and that we are as equally capable, but that there were some fundamental differences owing to biology and cultural and societal norms that place a disproportionate burden on women. So that should definitely be considered in order to retain more women in the surgical workforce. So I ended up arguing on both sides, I think, because it's I don't want to be treated specially, but I want to be treated fairly. For some things that I do need some accommodation of needs or some special requests, that needs to be addressed. So that was the essence of my
apparently
argument.
that's why the con got ditched, and yours was the only one because it was already balanced. That's what Dr. Punidhar has written. So so Akila says that we can start by being, so we were talking, I'm going to sort of hijack part of what Shripriya was supposed to do, is that one of the reasons for doing this session was, we didn't want it to be a rant session. We wanted to be about solutions, and mainly what can we do to help the next generation of women so that you don't have to use the word women doctor anymore, then so Akila has rightly suggested we can start by being a little more empathetic to our junior colleagues or even our fellow colleagues. So what are the challenges in sort of doing this, Gomati? Where do we draw the line between being empathetic or again, like Gayatri says, special treatment versus what is fair? Then how do we balance that? What is fair?
Vijay, before Dr. Gomti come in, I will also take a little objection to what the Gayatri says is male dominated. See, a dominated word is statistically there more. And that does not mean domination. In a way, that doesn't sound good. I think that has to be taken
From a
off
pure
as well.
numerical sense, sir. That's all.
Numerically, you can't even use the word superior. So whatever.
Outnumbered.
Outnumbered. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
No, so I think this has been described that when a woman is in a leadership position, in order to show that she's not biased towards women, they kind of take the other extreme. That's also well documented, actually. But on the other side of it, there are times when you feel that somewhere it is being utilized. The privileges given are not on a level playing field for men and women. The biological needs or childcare needs or family needs is a thing of the society. So you cannot bring in societal discrepancies onto the equation at the work front, which happens at times. So I think that is something we need to be extremely careful about when trying to give privileges for women considering. So like you rightly said, the male colleague there might need his time off for something else. So let's make it something equal for everybody. You take it for whatever reason you want to take. Let them take that time off for whatever time they need to do. So empathy automatically comes. We sometimes are careful not to overstep and go the other extreme also. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, thank you.
Can
And,
I?
yeah.
So there was a recent article from Wall Street Journal a few days ago. I don't know if it popped up in various social media circles on how young doctors want work-life balance and old doctors say that's not the job. Interestingly, it had nothing to do with gender. They interviewed male doctors, female doctors from a multitude of specialties. So I think that goes in line with what Dr. Gomti was saying. The approach to life in general is changing generationally. More and more men also want work-life balance. Work-life balance is no longer a female requirement. Even men want to spend time involved in child rearing, maybe, So I think flexibility that way, the approach to the field in itself, I think we have to, move into the next century. And it's not just about how many hours you work on the job, whether it's surgery or microbiology. It's about the quality of time, flexibility of work hours. All those things are concepts that we have to derive, like she said, from other industries, and see how we can apply it to our generation now. And it's no longer special treatment or for women only. Even, we may be headed toward equal parental leave or other concepts that we should really explore if we want to really retain a good, bright workforce, both men and women. That's how things are changing, I think.
I'm going to just put a little cat among the pigeons that we can't really equate what Google or Facebook does. We cannot do it in a hospital, right? So they can work at their own time to develop their new app or do whatever, and it can get released on any day that it happens. But if there is a person who's sick in the ICU, or a woman in labor, or a donor whose organ has to be retrieved, this whole so we have to rethink the whole thing, that we have, if we need more people, if we want to have flexible hours and we want to have more time for ourselves, then we need more people. And if there, unfortunately, the reality is that for want of a better word, the amount that your organization or whatever is going to budget for manpower is fixed. So the current generation's expectation is that the monetary return should be very high, but I should work less hours and I should have flexible time. So that the newer generation, we have to learn from them to be flexible. But I think we have to inculcate a sense of reality among ourselves and with the younger generation, that something has to give. And nobody can have it all. So if you're going to have flexible timings, you're going to work less hours, automatically you're going to take less money. Jaypriya was talking about obstetricians doing part-time work. Unless they actually have a group practice, who's looking after the lady who goes into labor at 2 o'clock, or she goes into labor at 10? No, sorry, I'm gymming, I'll come at 11. You cannot do that. So there has to be a proper system in work. That is why many obstetricians take up IVF or something else, which does not involve much emergency work. So that's again a choice, that you choose to do only IVF treatment or something which can be planned, and you can have time and fixed times. But if everyone is going to not work at night, or everyone is going to come whenever they feel like, my question is that who is going to actually do the work when a patient needs it? After all, our field is a little different from other places, right? So that part, I think somehow we have to inculcate in everybody, that if everyone wants a night off, then who's going to look after the patient in the night?
No, I think if we move away from the mindset that in my days I used to work 48 hours straight, that mindset has to change.
Absolutely. I don't think
that changes, we are coming halfway through, they are moving halfway through. Yeah. But I think that's sort of the change that I was talking about.
Yeah. So then there was another question.
Ma'am,
sorry, go ahead.
if I might add a little bit more. So when we talking about this workforce and trying to understand what they want, so I feel empathy becomes a very large part of what leadership should bring in. I know I'm talking amidst amazing leaders here, but the slight difference where authority wouldn't work anymore, at least in healthcare, authority is not something that is going to work. What we need to provide for a team to function well, or for people who are working with us to do better, is inspiration and the environment which is safe for them to voice out, say, I don't want to work this way. It's okay. So we just need to find out what one person wants, what their capabilities are. I understand that it's going to be difficult for the leader, because if, say, 5 out of 10 people don't want to do night shifts, we need to be more accommodative, because the generation is like that, and healthcare is complex. It's heavily collaborative in nature, and it's ever changing and ever evolving. So if we want to retain workforce, if we want to make sure that people are going to be with us and they're going to be supportive to us, we have to become empathetic, figure out what works for each one of them, and find out innovative solutions which can help them work better. There might be some areas where they could contribute a little bit more, not the traditional ways. So I think we need to be more forward thinking in figuring out how to make them contribute more and how to get them feel like being a part. So once people start feeling that they are part of this team, that they want to contribute to this entire unit, that they know that they are part of a larger vision and organization, then it becomes slightly easier. Then even if somebody is not well and they want one team member is not going to come, we don't have to really force it on the other person to take up that role. They'll be like, okay, fine, today that person's not coming in. So I think there's a lot of empathetic, compassionate, and a safe attitude to leadership that is going to be really important in kind of getting workforce to stay, be more meaningful, and add more value to whatever they're doing. And I because we're talking about women in particular, I feel women are the best leaders who could do this, because all of these characteristics come out very naturally to women. We understand better, we are empathetic, we provide safety, we are more inclusive, we can be more diplomatic. So I feel the change in the a more accommodative leadership will help in the future generation, which has differing demands from what we had.
There's
Can I add
actually
in
a
something?
question. Akila has said that I understand many of you came back to India after training abroad. Is it because you felt that the support system was better here, and how did you cope when your children found it difficult to adjust here? It's a little offbeat, but I thought we'll include that question. Shri Priya or Neeraja, would you like to take that?
Yes, I think I've seen many of them move from UK for many other different reasons. I came back from UK because I always wanted to come back and settle in India, but it took a while, where it started from a 3-year planning. It went to 13.5 years and we came back. But then for me, I totally wanted to settle in India. That was the main reason. But in terms of children coping, I think I came back when my daughter was in 8th standard. Now she's doing her final year medicine. She was quite a flexible personality, so she settled in quite easily. And I think initially the languages and doing the social studies were slightly difficult, but then she settled in 6 months' time because she came back in 8th, or when children moved out around 7th or 8th standard, they're much better, they cope well. But I think if I look back and say now, like my son is quite younger to her, 8 years difference, and I see her when I think of him, I don't think he is a person who would come back that easily at 8th standard. It would have been very, very difficult. So it depends on each child and each family circumstances, rather than saying what works right for one family might not work for the other family. So we have to take a call depending on our circumstances. I think that is more important, and seeing your child's mentality and what they want. You have to question them, you ask their permission as well, because we took permission and we came back when we were saying, because that is like, peak of the career in UK. They come to middle school and they become quite independent. So it's pretty good. They coped. Luckily, I was very lucky. The older one was more sensible and flexible. So I don't find very difficult with her. Thank you.
Rehana has a question. How can experienced and successful women help other women in this industry? Gomati, I'd like you to take that question.
I
Gomati,
think
at the same thing, I also wanted to ask you, why aren't there more women doing leadership, taking up leadership roles? Won't they make wonderful leaders? Can you answer
they
that?
will, I think, and they will definitely make more, what's a better, good leaders, both, let's say. I mean, in healthcare, at least, we do see a lot of women leaders coming up now. Essentially because I think senior positions now are both clinical and it comes, the administrative part comes. The system is changing in India too, like in the West, where clinical leads do have a lot of administrative responsibility, even on the corporate side, with accreditations and such coming up. So we are seeing more of them come. But I also feel, for reasons mentioned by Gayatri and Jaipriya when we started, that, there's somewhere this sense that we don't appreciate ourselves as much. So those are things which, as a leader, you have to start inculcating. So maybe it will help to have certain sessions on leadership for women. I think that would be something which should be just not that they're not leaders, because at home they do so much work which calls for a lot of but to announce yourself as a leader, we're a little giving us that confidence that you are a good leader. When you're doing so much more at home, you can do much better at work, and giving them the position will definitely make a difference.
Actually, in Tamil Nadu, almost all the medical colleges, the administrative positions are held by women anesthesiologists, many organizations. So
yeah,
I think in the public sector, it's already happening. It's probably a little slower in private sector, or maybe we are hesitant to do, because there it's automatic. Here you have to make a choice. And many times, if you want, you have to give up your clinical work in order to take up some management role in most corporates. So maybe that's where the barrier is. So good luck to you, Gomati.
Thank you.
So Suma wants to ask, said maybe we should talk about salary discrepancy. Is it still lower for women for the same job? Are women paid less? And how did any of you sort of overcome that, or how do you make sure that you're being treated fairly?
See, can I answer that? See,
Yeah.
in terms of pay, because I've been some more research I have done on pay across the world, and it has been found that it's not that the discrepancy is not among a man and woman of the same job, comparable jobs. So what they found, I think in Europe, some of the European countries, the same number of hours, the same effort, men generally take up jobs outside. Suppose outside a factory, there is a job on the road of lifting some load, and there is a lady who's working inside the factory, and because she's a woman, and same number of hours, same effort, she's being paid less compared to the man who's standing outside and he's being paid more. So technically speaking, see, if you see doctors, male and female, we don't discriminate here. We get the same pay, depends on our seniority and our experience. So we get paid for that.
Go and
But
call
when you
home. They're calling me. Then why are they calling me?
but when it comes
Suma, you need to mute yourself.
Yeah, but when it comes to negotiating salaries, when it comes to demanding during interviews, job interviews, not medicine, across jobs, it has been found that men tend to demand more. They inherently believe they deserve more when compared to women. Women naturally tend to feel that they deserve a lesser salary. This is across jobs. So if it I'll take an example of nursing. I think 2000, 11 or 10, there was a huge strike across Chennai in all corporate hospitals where nurses went on strike for a pay hike. And if you see, majority of nurses are women. And that is a time when male nurses started sprouting up. They started taking up nursing job. And it's a male nurses who stood by and made these women go stand on the road and create a strike. And they demanded, because men supposed to be the breadwinners of the family. They had to earn more to feel like a man. So in nursing, if you see, after the men started coming into nursing roles, the salaries increased. So somewhere deep down, women generally they believe that they don't deserve as much finances or as much money as much as men inherently believe they do. So in medicine, I don't think there is a disparity at all, because we all get paid. It's all the same pay scale.
Yeah. So there have been, of course, a lot of comments. One of the things about pregnancy during training, what are the solutions for that? And we could probably go on and on, but we are kind of out of time. So Shritya, maybe you want to do a round of what everyone's final comment is, closing comment, you might say.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. As you said, I mean, we can keep discussing, but I think maybe one thing we realize is we got to see different mindsets. We got to see different challenges among the women of different age groups, different specialties. But overall, I think they were able to overcome them in their own way by just adopting a positive attitude that they can do it. I think especially a lot of what Gomati said, that this may not be a problem for the upcoming generations. Just considering their mindset, I think we should also maybe learn from them and have that mindset ourselves. Yeah, we might have overcome those problems of child rearing probably at this point. I have certainly, but I think I definitely can adopt that attitude from my daughter if I can, and because there may be other challenges that are going to come across my path, and be happy that a lot of people define success in their own ways. I think it was very nice to hear that definition of success is different for different people, but to overall be happy with your lot and to be grateful. Yeah, I'm just happy that we had this discussion, and I'm hoping to share it with a lot of women, just so that we don't have that, especially I think when we are training and we have to give up a lot, there is that sense of frustration that comes through. So I hope this talk would go a long way in, Gayatri said a lot about that, taking things slowly, taking it one at a time. I think if we go back through this talk, there's a lot to learn from each of those. Maybe I should have been jotting, I was actually listening. So if somebody else had jotted down the points, it might be a better.
AI is jotting down.
Oh yeah, yeah. I forgot the AI. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, but I think it was
get
very
AI
nice
to look
hear.
at the chat box also, Radhakrishna, because so many people have so many
I
wonderful
can
things.
send a printout of that.
Yeah.
Now, I have a couple of points to make here if they are not very unsavory. I've also been looking into statistics, and I found that the percentage of girls taking up medicine is increasing year by year. It's crossed 50% long back, actually. We are nearing 70% now. But the percentage of girls taking up post-graduation is not comparable to men. It goes to show that a lot of girls stop with MBBS, and we don't know what they're doing and what they're up to, because how useful are their society. Second important thing, I also found out that in rural practice, what percentage of women doctors are in the rural sector? Only 30%. In spite of the fact that the percentage of girls are increasing, and that's something which need to be looked into. There are so many challenges for women to go work in rural sector, but that's one area it doesn't seem to improve at all, in spite of the percentage of girls coming into medicine. And interestingly enough, when Dr. Gomati is commenting about cultural issues, Japan has got the least number of women as doctor. Their percentage of women doctors are only 21%. And I tried to find out why. Japan very strongly believes in their cultural tradition that, women have to take care of the children and family and so on and so forth. And that's been ingrained for a long time. And they say very small percentage of Japanese children are obese. Obesity is not seen in that country, and the mothers take care of all that. I mean, this is just a interesting finding. I thought I should put in here, in spite of the fact that maybe not that savory though.
Akila, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something?
No, while I want to compliment every speaker here, the women speakers who have been great, and it has been really a lot of positivity from them. I really want to give it to Dr. Pata. It was so heartening to hear about him talking about Dr. Selvi, his wife. I know Dr. Selvi and Pata as good friends, and we were all together at Dhaka, and I know the happy housewife that Selvi was at Dhaka. And I'm so proud to see how she has come back to Chennai and become a very famous surgeon. She's carved a niche for herself. And I want to say that I must agree that Dr. Pata has played a major role in her success. So I want to give this to Dr. Pata. That's all.
I don't deserve such nice words, Akila, but thank you so much.
So your closing comments, Neeraja.
So I would just like to add that, at the end of the day, all of us should realize, every individual will have different needs and different roles, different goals. So if you realize and if you identify, where you're going to end up and, what gives you happiness, select those paths. Don't just focus on, this person is coming up, this person is going fast, I'm quite late. If you put that into your mind, then everything slows down. That's what I felt through my career. If you just think all of us get a a gap or a breakpoint somewhere or the other, and we all catch up at a few years later. If you see all of us in the same boat floating in some place or the other, we'll all meet up. All the cars speeding up or slowing down in the road. When you see one person is going very fast and one person going very slow, we'll always think, why is this fellow speeding up so quick? But then the person who's going fast slowly will meet up at the next signal. So I always thought, all women, we need not think we're just not doing it. We're doing it quite slowly. But at some point, you will come and reach me in the same place, and all of us will meet in the same meeting room like we're doing with Dr. Vidya now. And fortunately, and it gives a lot of happiness to meet with her in this meeting. So it's always you'll get an opportunity where you can prove yourselves. And that time you'll find you're thinking I've done well. And many times my mom has said, I always told to her, I feel sometimes I've been a failure. But then many times she said, if you're seeing failure as your career, that will never give you happiness. If you see you got your 2 children up, your daughter successfully doing final year medicine, your husband is getting a lot of accolades, he's getting a lot of medals, and you've given a step back. Yes, you've gone from neonates. Now probably you're doing only partly neonates, but your majority you're doing general pediatrics. But then if you look around, you've taken care of us, you've taken care of your grandparents, you've taken care of your family around. That's all put in together. That's definition of success. And don't put just your career as your success. I think after recently, I've put that in my mind, and I've just said yeah, that's very true what she's saying. And probably that's where I'm getting the happiness from now. And I'm hoping all of us will be happy at the end of the day. I think that's what this meeting is all about.
So Jaypriya, I hope you can see the glow on her face.
Vidya, a note of sadness I should admit here, because everybody's happy, smiling. Not even one successful woman said that behind every successful woman, there's a man. Not even one.
No. They all said it. They all said it. They didn't say a man. A man is not. May not be.
Let me be honest here. Many times the success is in spite of.
No.
Many times, Dr. Pata, unfortunately or fortunately, I have to say, that many a times parents are, playing a major role in different. I've seen my colleagues or juniors everywhere, more than husbands. Yes, husbands are doing, but especially if both of us are competing and being ambitious, I find the backbone of becoming parents or friends. And if someone steps back, and if the parents, if the husband is a non-medico or doing things, he's always able to help. But unfortunately, when both of us are striving hard, coming up in our careers, then I think I don't know, for some reason, I always felt, parents are playing a major role in our successes. And I would always credit them first. Then goes my husband, actually.
No, when Jaypriya says that, the man is not contributing enough, I'll tell you, this is an Indian society where always mother-in-laws, mothers, they're all there to take care and don't allow. For
Right.
that matter, I'm never allowed into the kitchen because you use a lot of oil, you spill things all over. None of these things are allowed, frankly. See, JP, I saw your pointed question. I mean, the bottom line is men are not bad, I'll tell you. Men are not bad. If you
So
take
we
it
need
that
to
way,
give higher
no, let me
standards
finish.
for men, sir. We need
No,
to
no,
give
no, no.
higher
Men,
standards.
men may not be proactive, but the support need necessarily be proactive. They're there. They're very much there in the background, and you can't. Unfortunately, my mother never taught me how to change nappies, or never thought I'll ever do it. Whenever I talk to women baby girls are taking up medicine, I said, "Do you daughter know how to cook?" They say, "No. Why should she cook? Why should she learn to cook?" There are certain stereotypes in India. In the Indian situation, mother-in-laws are always there, or unlike Western countries where you have to do all things for yourself. That's where the man role comes in, and man does it. Here, actually, nobody's forced to. They're not taught. Actually, people find it very strange when they try to do things like that,
These
like
same
baby care.
Indian men stereotypes, when they go abroad, they lend their hand in support. They are proactive.
There's a necessity there. There's no necessity here.
It's the other way, sir. I want to speak on behalf of the old women in our homes, the mothers and mother-in-laws. They also have a life. Okay, and we burden them with the responsibility of childcare. And most families, this happens when women work. The burden falls on the aging parents, which is not fair. I don't want to age.
They take
like
it themselves with JP. They take it themselves. They love doing those things, and it's not you just find one person, one senior person who says it's a burden. And
they don't
I think we are
say
getting
it,
back to
sir,
our
but
old days when we argue, but I think I'll leave it to Sripriya to take it further.
So, Gomati, your closing comments, please.
Oh, I was so involved in the discussion. I didn't think what I should say. No, this is fantastic. I think more sensitization at a very early part of the career, I think, is extremely important. And that will play a big role, and repetitive impacts will also help throughout the course. We should all work in the medical schools on these subjects. I think it'll make a big difference.
So, I'm going to reiterate what Radhakrishna had put in our WhatsApp group, that we are going to be looking to all of you to take this message to the really young, the undergraduate students, and maybe the postgraduates and fellows as well. So, both as part of inspiring them, to let them know that the sky is the limit, even in a retro world. Some of us have done it. So now for Gen Z, it should be a cakewalk, and also to talk about the realities. I mean, all of you have shared very, very important practical points. So we'll be looking to you to try. We call the program Marvelous Medicine on Wheels, and we've actually just done once. We've gone to a medical college, Mahatma Gandhi Medical College in Pondicherry. We hope to go and reach out to undergraduates because they are not going to come and log into a Zoom session where us oldies are talking. So we have to go to them. So we'll be looking for your support for that. Your closing comments, Gayatri.
Yeah, I was also following the discussion keenly, but I think discussions like these are important. And more than it being just a women's issue, it should be everyone's issue. We need the men, their input, because, you need two hands to clap and make noise. So I think us discussing our challenges is important, and us coming forward with potential solutions is important, but we need, we need the men also to take it forward. I think that's one of the biggest problems I have with the, some conferences, there'll be some sessions on women in this and women in that. It'll only be women attending those meetings. Those meetings do not bring about any constructive change. It has to involve everyone. So I think these kind of open forums are extremely important for that. And I was happy to see so many men also contributing and giving comments and asking questions. I think that's where we need to engage dialogue. It's not just during training, even during professional lives, when we advance, even as leaders, there are challenges. So that way, I think it was a very good idea to have people from different fields, different levels, and positions in their career, being medical, being surgical, because there are numerous challenges, and no one person's journey is similar to the other. Everyone has a unique set of challenges. So I think there are different things that people could hopefully have related to from this discussion. And like you said, Dr. Vidya, it'd be great if we can take this forward and bring some constructive change. I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, so I'm glad to say that men were one of the first to log in even before the women panelists were on board. So Tilaka, your closing comments.
Two things. Thank you so much. And I am so much, I've become such a fan of all of you. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, I think the topic started off with success stories of 6 success, something related to success. But the whole point is the term success itself is completely redefined by this entire, I think, the whole conversation. Because what might seem successful to somebody might be very meaningless to another person. So each individual will have to define their own success and not kind of base it on somebody else's vision or somebody else's expectations. So if we are happy doing what we are doing, I think then we are good at it and we should just continue to do it. So thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity. And Patta sir, we all are giving credits to men, super duper credits to men. And all of us, I think, mentioned that men have been super supportive in their life. So I think it's a journey that all of us will have to take together.
Yeah, so I am not going to ask Jayapriya for a closing comment because I am booking her for another episode of Marvelous Medicine where we are going to go into more nitty-gritties, like the facts and figures and the things that normally we all like to happily chat and then leave it alone. And she's going to address the brass tacks. So thank you, everyone. We had more than 100 people logged in today. And I'm sure at least 30 to 40% of them were men. And at the end of 1 hour and 50 minutes, we still have 55 people here. So thank you.
Vidya, Dr. Sripriya has done a wonderful job.
Yes. I mean, you think I'll give the job to someone who won't do it wonderfully? So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry if I nagged you guys and all that because I thought we had this wonderful opportunity and we should not trivialize it. So that was the reason I might have come off too strong in trying to prep you guys and all that. So thank you so much. And this should not be, like Radhakrishna said, this should not be the end. This is just the beginning. And I think we should do a lot more. We'll meet again next week with another episode of Marvelous Medicine. Till then, take care and stay safe. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.